Good evening, everyone. Welcome again on a Thursday to the AROC AutoItalia Giulietta TCR UK series. I hope you all had a very good week. We are here yet again at the Anglesey circuit this evening for a triple header for round two with the Pro and the AM class. And new this week especially, I am joined by Reevy Taylor, who is a new pundit for this evening. How you doing, Reevy?
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you along. So qualifying has begun for everyone, but just to go through what has been happening, there were a few challenges raised last week after the race, but none affected the overall standings. So after the two races of round one at Colin, sorry, that's where it was, Matt Daly topped the table with 43 points, Colin Kinney on his tail with 33, and Paul Plant, after having a very good second race, but Zaz's first race, even out his points at 25, and takes third place on the championship standings so far. And in the AM class, that is currently led by Carl Alden, and then 2 points behind him on, I suppose that would be joint second, wouldn't it? Would be Paul Millman and Rob Whitney, both on 33 points. So not much between them for the beginning of the round, but we have only just started and there's a fair few rounds to go. Fair few races to go, so we shall see what happens. As I said, they are in qualifying at the moment, so we'll join straight in with them. So we are at Anglesey for a triple header race this evening, and initially there were due to be a wet race or wet races for the competitors this evening, but that didn't go to plan, so they are currently all running in the dry this evening in the Giuliettas, and with just tipped over 15 minutes left of the 30-minute qualifying session, 25-minute qualifying session, we have Matt Daly taking his place where he usually is at the front of the grid for the provisional pole stop. Currently in the pits, but 0.25 of a second behind him is Andrew Whitehead, who will be hoping for a better performance this race than he did last week. It's a little bit disastrous for him at getting caught up in a few sort of mid-pack incidents at Castle Coombe, but he at the moment lines up on the front row of the grid next to Matt. And then behind him, with a very small margin between them, is Colin Kinney, who was last year's championship winner, who put in a very quick time but doesn't improve on this particular round, and now has the traffic of, I believe, Stephen Knight in front of him to contend with.
Just some of that typical TCR
just
steer there.
Yes. Running a little bit wide. Someone else running behind Andrew Whitehead, a little bit jittery as well. So, as we also saw from last Thursday, we see Matt Daly heading into the pits to make setup changes. Completely open setups for these cars this year that they have. Yes, as we saw at Castle Coombe, very quick track, very short track as well, and traffic sort of played a big component in the overall results, as I think Greg Young's going to get lost there. Unfortunately, I think he may have...
yeah, we're having disconnection issues.
Either that, or he thought he didn't know which corner was... It is quite a tricky track, actually, because there's a lot of undulation in it, so you do tend... Especially when it sort of meets in the middle a little bit, you do tend to sort of pick some wrong. You do have to be careful where you're going, coming over the crest of a few of the hills.
Yeah, especially in these TCR cars as well, because if you aren't committed coming into the entry of a corner, it's generally bad news.
Trying to keep
these are control. Fun under braking.
Yes, we've seen they do cock a wheel quite easily on some occasions. things locking up and things like that, like an aircraft coming into land with wheels stationary. It's like smoke everywhere as it suddenly touches down again. Yes, Greg Young actually dropping down now to 5th as Andrew Cracker puts in a very good time to bring himself up to the second row of the grid. Colin Kinney was, I think, has scratched his lap a little bit. He was coming up red as if he was off the track a little bit. So, again, I think running wide as well will also be something for them to contend with. But yeah, as we can see, even in qualifying, everyone's sort of bunched up a little bit together. There's not much space for a clean run with 14 competitors here this evening. So that's going to be certainly very interesting how the traffic affects the results. It did have a little bit of an effect, I think, last week in race 2, a bit more. So yeah, hopefully everyone will get out of the way as needed. We also have currently in the pits as well, a new competitor joining us, joining the series for this race is Ant Gray in the number 12 car, putting in a very good debut qualifying time at the moment, bringing himself up to 6th. So yes, certainly better than I was my first time in TCRs.
Really?
what was your sort of performance the first few times then?
So I had a mini series in the Leon TCR, which was probably over the course of lap a little bit more capable, but very, very unstable, I'd say, overall. And it was I was definitely towards the back for probably the first half of this little mini series.
Did you manage to make improvements towards the latter stages? Or was it quite a tricky car to handle?
Yeah. Eventually, you kind of get used to how they behave under braking and everything. And they did have quite a good corner exit. These Giuliettas I've noticed tend to be a little bit understeery, but I'm sure that's something that you can adapt to quite easily.
As you can see,
we have as they show, no understeer.
A very, very quick line in. I'm sure the cameraman was a little bit nervous at where Matt was going there for that moment, but the cameraman getting very close to the action there.
I suppose it's all right. His car's wearing high visibility jacket,
and I think for that punishment, he's actually been knocked off provisional pole at the moment by Andrew Whitehead, who didn't take a drifting line in to that corner. But yes, he's now been Andrew Whitehead now takes provisional pole with 9 minutes left to go on qualifying. So who do we have also down the order, and actually going quicker as well? So first sector after that lap going quicker again, but Matt still a very, very tight margin between him and Matt Daly. So Matt can most likely,
I was going to say not by much so far. It could come down to the wire.
As there's a change in the middle, Andrew Cracker puts in a quicker time again. Matt Daly, interesting, is going a bit slower than before. Is Andrew Whitehead's second sector going to be a little bit quicker than his best, a little bit slower rather than his best? So it might not be a good enough lap to separate a bit more space. I'm not sure he can relax quite yet. Top 5 drivers all within a second of each other. Greg Young currently in 5th position. A few other people in the pits, I think, making changes as Rob Whitney actually comes back out on track in front of Daly. Andrew Whitehead doesn't improve on the second and third sector, so is finding time in the first sector, but will most likely need to improve the middle 2. Who else do we have going around? Barry Clayton in 8th at the moment. Not a name I recognise from Castle Coombe, actually, to be fair, and actually it does seem a very bright livery that I would have remembered from last week, but good. We'll see what his performance is like.
Yeah,
very striking livery there, very good design.
Another high visibility.
Yes. Let's see. Guys, we're just returning to the track. We appear to be missing Finley Swarbrick this evening as well. It's a bit of a shame. Paul Mill went down in 13th, who had his debut at Castle Combe, I think, and put in some very respectable times. Paul Plant, who we're used to seeing a bit quicker up the track, so he bounces down now turn 1. Rather a unique place to spin, but showing us it's possible. Careful rejoining, everyone just diving out of the way a little bit.
Showing the black and white flag for that one.
There has actually been a change again. Colin Kinney putting in a quicker time again than both his competitors take provisional pole with 6 minutes left to go. It could be quite decisive for the race. How far you up how far you have yourself up the order, as it's quite a tight turn 1 and then a very heavy braking zone to the banking. Hairpin turning back on itself. He's obviously found time in the second sector if he can contend with the traffic.
I think at this rate it could take until kind of getting into the lower half of the 129s to be safe really for pole.
Yes, I think he's decided to scrap. He does indeed as he returns to the pits. Either to get clear or to make changes to the car. Yes, Andrew Whitehead and Matt Daly still separated by a very, very tight margin.
Brilliant livery on Whitehead's car.
It is very, very good, very distinctive as well. It's a nice, easy car to spot in the crowd. And Matthews has pulled off to the side for some reason. Hope he can get going soon with his issues. Paul Millman's also pulled off as well, returns to the pits. 5 minutes left to go, qualifying both the top runners. Colin Kinney just biding his time, not getting anyone's way. Whitehead returns to pits as well. Under 5 minutes of qualifying to go. Colin Kinney, your provisional pole sitter. And Whitehead currently in the pits. 0.235 of a second behind him. Daly on quick time. I think improving on the first sector, but not setting his best quite yet. So yes, the undulation I think going to be very, very tricky for these cars as well, being so light. And as you said, really committed. You have to commit to the corners to get them round, don't you?
Really, definitely. If you really got to make sure you slow down in these, because otherwise you're just going to go forward when you're on full lock, or you're using the other car to keep you on track.
Clayton just returning to the bits as well. So there doesn't appear to be much movement happening at the front of the grid. Steele and Knight rounding out the order in 14th for the moment. Let's have someone just returning to the track as well. Everyone, I think, just making last minute tweaks to the car to try and get that extra bit of time. They're pulling off. Not able.
That's something I really enjoy about this TCR cars, is that there's a huge amount of options available just to change, but they're quite accessible. It's not too difficult to go in there and just play around suspension without ruining everything.
Fantastic. So an easy car to sort of get along with and try and tweak to your driving styles, I guess. Good. So not many opportunities left for people to get a fast lap in. Matt Daly's going to be out on track on his outlap again now, but he'll have traffic in front of him he'll have to contend with. As he goes round the left-hander of Rocket. A few people still in the pits. Paul Clark improving on his position, bringing himself up to 8th. Andrew Whitehead not quite putting in his best time yet. You can see that rear wheel just stopping in mid-air of Colin Kinney as he goes round the I believe it's a hairpin. And along straight away down to the bus stop. Tidy that, see if he can. He has to improve on his time. He has already got provisional pole. Who is ahead, putting in a personal best second sector.
Improving slightly.
Not quite enough to provisional pole. Separates the gap between him and Matt Daly, who I think is still on outlap. Hasn't quite crossed the line. It's not quite showing us at the moment. Very close behind, and Andrew Whitehead just following him. Millman stationary, just getting out of the way of the drivers, which is good to see. Look like a bit of a bumpy corner from Andrew, so it's I think the first sector that's costing him a bit of time compared to the others. We have another car stationary, just moving out the way. Seconds left on the qualifying session, so it doesn't look like unless he can get across the line in time. Might just, some of them might have an opportunity for another lap. Looks like Colin will. Not sure about Andrew or Matt, both of which are on slightly slower times. Matt Daly hasn't actually managed to put in a fast lap yet at all, just finishing the outlap now. He does indeed, yes. But they are all on a fast lap, all in tow of each other, albeit slightly different orders. Colin Kinney, Andrew Whitehead and Matt Daly. For some reason it's not showing us Matt Daly's time quite yet. Colin Kinney running a little bit slower in the first sector. Matt Daly's got traffic in front of him of, I think that's Guy Swarbrick's car. There's indeed Guy Swarbrick, who's really holding him up, so that might ruin Matt's overall quick time. Unless he can get a good tow from Guy. No, that is causing slight issues for Matt Daly. Andrew Whitehead's closing up on them as well. They both managed to get around, running very wide on the outside.
Gonna be needing all the track by the end of this lap. I think all three will be wondering why Anglesey couldn't have added a bit of tarmac.
Just trying to expand the track for them. So Colin Kinney comes across the line first. Doesn't improve on his time. Matt Daly looks like he's gone into the pits and scrapped the lap, and they do. Andrew Whitehead does the same, so they both stay in their respective positions. So the order looks like Colin Kinney, Andrew Whitehead and Matt Daly for the race. Right, we will just exit the server and let them reset. And we'll get that set up again, and we'll be back in a moment.
Some brilliant liveries.
He is indeed. Welcome back to race 1. So we have our running order for race 1. So you can see very short grid. I think we're still waiting for one person to load up at the back. But for our qualifying session, that actually seems to be. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, because that didn't look like the initial order that we left with. Because Colin Kinney, I believe, had the fastest lap, but is currently second row on the grid. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but with a couple of minutes left to go, I'm not too sure whether the order's going to change. So we'll run through it quickly, and then that may be amended later. But we have, and unless it, of course, there was some final laps that we didn't see change the order, but. Currently on the front row we have Andrew Cracker and Matt Daly. Second row is Andrew Whitehead and Colin Kinney. Third row is Greg Young and Paul Plant. Fourth row is Anthony Gray. Fifth, Paul Plant, Anthony Gray. Fifth row I think is Rob Whitney and Luke Wiggins, as we're missing someone there. Alan Matthews and Guy Swarbrick line up, and at the back Paul Millman and Stephen Knight. So I think we have lost, I think Barry Clayton, I think, popped up on the screen. He'd unfortunately dropped out the server, so hopefully in the next minute he can rejoin. As he does indeed, we see the bright yellow car.
I think you summoned him there.
Did a little rain dance, wished him back into existence, and he joined us for the start just in time. As I said, very striking livery, hard to miss that one. So he lines up on row 4, I believe. So just 30 seconds remaining until the beginning of the race.
Everyone checking their headlights, very sensible.
Yes, I have a feeling they're going to be well used.
Pre-race MOT.
So as you said, very tight left-hander at turn 1, and then the heavy braking zone into the banking. So hopefully we can get everyone round in a good order. So as you can see, the 6 lights appear on the gantry as we are about to begin the race. And away they go. Everyone gets a decent start. Some mid-pack field sort of stuttering a little bit. Everyone ran the first corner. Not too much change, running very wide onto the grass, but everyone managing to get through very cleanly. Matt Daly running very wide. That's in danger of losing position where he is. And he's running down the order. Fantastic.
Cracker came out of that quite well.
Fantastic start from Andrew Cracker. I said Colin Kinney has pipped Matt Daly for third, and Matt Daly running very wide again on the grass. Is going to lose a couple more positions. Indeed, running through Church Corner, all the way down. Barry Clayton has lost out to Guy Swarbrick. Another heavy braking zone. We're all 3 wide. We've got Guy Swarbrick running very wide, spins completely out the grass, and hits the barrier. And
that's not a shortcut.
And I think just very barely stops in time before meeting the rest of the pack. Before rejoining the circuit, so not ideal for him at all. Very big shame to see that happen to him, but he does rejoin. He does get going again, but very lucky to stop in time before meeting the rest of them. But Andrew Cracker running very wide again. Andrew Whitehead saw his opportunity, took the inside line, and as they run down from the hairpin to the bus stop, and now Andrew Whitehead is the new leader of the race. But again, they both very heavy onto the brakes, just get the cars turned around. Matt Daly not having a great race, loses out to 5th place, but still battling with Paul Plant going into turn 1. So again, everyone's still moving about. Everyone's still bunched up, very close together. Half a second separates Andrew and both Andrew Whitehead and Andrew Cracker. So Andrew Whitehead looking to get his head down and get away. We do also, I did actually forget to mention at the beginning of the race, this is actually the first round that we have the ballast taking effect. So I think Colin Kinney and I think Paul Plant as well, having won last week's races, will have their cars weighted down heavier than the finishers from last week that were behind them. So that's also having an effect, I'm sure, on their races as well. Otherwise, Colin Kinney would be quite a bit quicker if his car was the same weight. And that's the way the season runs, to balance out all the competitors, and it is doing a good job giving Andrew and both Andrews a run in at the sharp end of the grid. So just as they come up to finish lap 2, we have Andrew Whitehead in first place, Andrew Crackett in second, running very wide again as they go over the start finish straight. Everyone pushing themselves to the limits of the track. Greg Young back and forth. Matt Daly now getting past Paul Plant up into 5th. Here's that Colin Kinney just showing a puff of smoke under braking, but gets the car around nicely. Debut from Anthony Gray up into 7th, so very good racing from him. Alan Matthews in 8th, Luke Wiggins in 9th, Barry Clayton dropping down to 10th, but on the tail of Luke Wiggins, Millman in 11th, Rob Whitney in 12th, and Steve 19th, 13th, Guy Swarbrick in 14th place. It's back at the front row of the grid on lap 2, Andrew Whitehead putting in a very good pace, just eking out a second over Mr. Cracker behind him, as they go through the left-hander of Siemens down the Tom Price straight. Where with the sort of battle for 9th between Barry Clayton and Luke Wiggins. Barry on Wiggins' tail, just underneath the rear spoiler, looking down the inside, but Luke looks to cut him off. So Barry just in the heels of the white, green, red Alpha in front of him. So very good. We have a car off. That is, who was that? That was Anthony Gray is off. I think at the bus stop corner as well, run completely wide as well. There's also another car that was running wide and joining the track, but wasn't too sure who that was. Anthony Gray, we seem to have lost in the brush. There we are. He's returned to the circuit on the start finish straight, but he's back in last place, unfortunately. Which is a great shame, because that was a very good performance from him up to that point. But yeah,
Car wash is going to be in good use on all these excursions.
Trying to get the grass out the grill and everything like that. But yeah, it just proves to show that you've gone to the grass for a moment and the car's suddenly sliding where you don't want to go. Now demonstrated by 2 drivers as well, and how much momentum these cars have. Once you're on the ice, you'll struggle to get it back. Guys Warwick and Stephen Knight is actually off the track, stationary and does actually return to the pits, unfortunately. Hopefully he can continue, but that puts Anthony Gray into 13th, Guy Swarbrick up into 14th. We've got another car, Andrew Cracker, who was in 2nd place, is now running very wide onto the grass. So very much taking his time to rejoin.
Not an optimal line.
Right? I think he must have run wide. Greg Young as well was the wrong way around on the track as well. I'm not sure what happened there, whether that was a shunt with anyone else. They've all decided to suddenly turn around. Luke Wiggins is returning to the track as well.
They greased the track before we started here.
Dropped thumbtacks or something on the ground, haven't they? But that's all happened within the sense of a few corners of turn 1 and up to the banking of the hairpin. So that's Luke Wiggins, Greg Young now further down. Let's put Matt Daly up into 3rd. Colin Kinney now 2nd. Andrew Whitehead still in the lead, so I managed to avoid whatever incidents had happened there. While Whitney getting past Paul Millman fairly quickly.
The top two would be enjoying
Indeed,
this commotion.
yes. Well, the top two was Andrew Cracker, but now he's down in 5th. So he didn't enjoy that at all. But yes, I'm not sure what happened there. That was an isolated, like a self-inflicted incident, just trying to push himself to try and catch up with Andrew Whitehead. But unfortunately, he ran wide on the grass and then quite amicably took his time to rejoin safely. But yeah, that puts him down in 5th behind Paul Plant, so that looks like we can close up to each other. Very good battle between the two. Lap 5 now, with Andrew Whitehead just in nearly complete air as well, completely clean air around him. Nearly a full second gap to Colin Kinney, who will have a weighted car as well, so that's going to make it very difficult for Colin to close the gap. Matt Daly, after running higher up the order and having issues, racing incidents in the first lap, is now back up to 5th. Luke Wiggins, I think, must have had another spin as well, just rejoining the track. Yes, gets passed by Guy Swarbrick, and again Luke just just losing the back end of the car, running through the banking corner. But does regain to carry on, so I think just needs to settle down a bit now, and just put in some good solid laps and some possibly some just get his head back in the game for race 2 at this stage. It's Swarbrick very heavy under the braking, heading through the rocket corner.
Probably taking no chances anymore after that first half.
No, moved his braking point back a few feet perhaps, just to make sure. Barry Clayton up into 5th now. 6th, Andrew Cracker in 7th. Very, very close to Paul Plant, nearly on his tail now. Will be potentially be in the slipstream of Paul's car. Closing up very nicely, going through the turn 1. So Andrew Cracker will want to get past Paul Plant as quickly as possible. He's obviously got the pace on him. So
how wide can you make that Giulietta?
How can Paul defend against a very quick Andrew Cracker behind him? Looks like Andrew's a little bit weaker in the mid-sections of the track. The very heavy braking zone of Rocket, and that made it look easy. Mr. Cracker just sweeping past him very, very quickly. Paul Plant coming to a nearly stationary there, just on the braking zone, and yeah, just Andrew Cracker was able to dip inside him very, very quickly and cleanly and get the job done. So that's Andrew Cracker now up into 4th place. Paul Plant will have trying to go on the offensive to regain that position, but looks like the gap is beginning to open up. So you can get another look in the heavy braking zone. Not quite yet. The gap looks to be maintaining at about 4 seconds between Andrew Whitehead and Colin Kinney. Both putting in personal best time, very similar personal best times. I think Colin Kinney actually putting in slightly quicker personal best than Andrew on a particular lap. Daly a fair way behind in completely clear air in 3rd. Andrew Cracker, as you can see, running a little bit wide there, but he's putting ground between him and Paul Plant, who is currently in 5th.
Paul might have to wait a couple of laps before he can give that attack another go, I think. One of the key things about these TCRs is keeping your tyre temps under. Oh, as we see, a little off by Rob.
Just to turn 1 again, just regaining position, and we'll have Guy Swarbrick on his tail. I think Guy wanted to try and keep up the speed and get past him, but Rob, I think, just regaining himself a bit too quickly there and putting gap between them. So so Stephen likes not to rejoin the race after returning to the pits. So our back mark at the moment, Anthony Gray, on his debut race. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in race 2 and 3 after a very good initial pace in race 1, but unfortunately a little incident causing him to run wide and drop down the order. But let's see, what's the Andrew Whitehead just coming through the start-finish straight, and again from Anthony Gray, just as we click back to him, he's at the heavy braking zone for left-hander of Rocket, but lost the car unfortunately. Not quite putting in quite as such a spectacular leap as Guy Swarbrick does, but Gray does rejoin the track.
There must be a good view on the grass.
Possibly. They just want to see the sea from that point. But yes, so backmarker's not playing as much of a. It's a bigger track than I thought it was actually. It's quite a small area but quite twisty. So backmarker's not having a major effect on the front runners. The gap now actually reducing between Andrew Whitehead and Colin Kinney now down to under 3 seconds. So if Colin can do even better than he is now, he might even have a chance at the top spot. We still have 6 minutes left remaining. Andrew, as good as he is to be at the front row, isn't immune to the odd error, as we've seen before.
I think as well, if Knief can keep a bit of tyre life left in him by the end of a few laps, he can really have a go.
That could be why we saw him slow up in the midsection. Luke Wiggins again just rejoining the track at, I think, between Church and Rocket. Anthony Gray unfortunately not close enough to challenge for 12th yet. So I think the latter stages of the race. Who is that? Colin Kinney is actually off the track. Saw his name go red.
Oh.
And Matt Daly is actually close enough that he's able to take second place from him.
Be very thankful for that.
I think that was where was that? I think that was the banking actually after turn 1, because they're just coming up to Rocket now. So yeah, turn 1 I think obviously caught out Colin again. So yeah, Andrew praising whatever car gods has allowed him the extra time over Matt Daly now. Goes forward, getting past Paul Millman for 10th. Stephen Lowe now officially a DNF from the race. But yeah, now a 10-second. What happened to? Oh, Guy Swarbrick springing off as well. That's a great shame. He was doing very well and managed to get up into just break the top 10, but just rejoining the track now after a little spin. So yes,
I think AROC's landscaping bill is going to be extortionate by the end of this.
The Alfa Romeo lawnmower now. Right, that's one way to afford racing, isn't it? Is grass cutting, as we see Andrew Whitehead actually making a mistake now as well. So the conditions and the whatever possibly tyre wear or anything causing issues for some of the drivers now struggling to keep it on the narrow circuit. Just under 5 minutes of the race remaining. There is a battle by the looks of it brewing for second place between Colin Kinney and Matt Daly, who have challenged each other before through the last season.
I think around this orientation of track, I think front left will probably start to be our issue here. These TCRs are often limited by the front axle just simply can't take what you ask of it at the end of the day.
Very heavily loaded tyre as well with the undulation that you'll have as well around this track, I would have thought. The gap getting 0.5 a second now between the two. So Matt Daly not able to break away from Colin as of yet. Everyone else does seem to be sort of in clear air around themselves. As we see Mr. Clayton running very wide but keeps it on the black stuff. It's good to see. 3 minutes left of the circuit. Let's see, Andrew Whitehead missing the apex of turn 1 but does get round safely. Daly and Colin Kinney keeping it very tidy, gets around the same. Who's that at the back? Wiggins getting past Guy Swarbrick. I think Swarbrick may have had another issue. Possibly at the back. And yes, battle for second place between Matt Daly and Colin Kinney. 2.5 minutes left. Can Colin best? Matt is incredibly close to the back of him now. I think there's a little bit of a skip there under braking. Colin just about getting it done, getting the car stopped, but left that very, very late to get the gap down as quickly as possible. Avoided the back of the yellow Alfa in front of him. I think one of the favourable overtaking points coming into to Rocket as they come down the left-hander of Siemens out the main straight. Is Colin close enough for a slipstream? Gap slightly opened up. I think whatever's happening is a little bit weaker in those corners. Both run through the hairpin. Get down to 7 seconds from Andrew Whitehead. So Andrew, I think, must have backed off just to save whatever tyre life he has left.
The corner exit, especially on these sections of the long straight, is everything here. Probably make half a second at least through just one corner.
Yes, keeping the speed up is going to be very, very key, isn't it? I suspect we have a little bit of traffic between Andrew Whitehead and Matt Daly. I'm not too sure. I'm not sure that's going to. We do actually Matt Gray a lap down now. Ant Gray, sorry, a lap down between the two. But I don't think that will cause an issue for the remaining of the race. 1 lap left. Sorry, 1 minute left. Plus a lap from the leader. Again, Colin on his preferred braking zone. He's better at that point than Matt, but still not quite close enough to for it to make a difference.
Can he be brave through here now?
Can Colin keep on the back of Matt's car going through the next sequence? Another heavy braking zone going through Siemens. Colin a lot closer this time around. Let's see if he can keep in the slipstream. He does. It doesn't give him quite a toe that you would expect. Very, very close. Colin can even get later under the brakes.
Parking sensor going mad on that one.
Matt Daly will know he's there, will be trying to keep it out of his mind and keep his line as tidy as possible, but they are indeed getting a lot closer to the car in front. The traffic, it will actually play a part now between the two. Andrew Whitehead is on the penultimate lap. Back marker diving out the way at the banking, keeping well out of the way of that trouble, out of that battle.
Probably fancies watching himself.
I think there is who's that? Barry Clayton getting in front of Greg Young there for 6th. But as they come up to, again, Colin's favourite braking point, that Rocket corner, Bo slow, gets the car slowed down nicely. And again, not able to get a look up the inside quite yet. Looking around the outside.
Great little compact.
It is, yes, looking around the outside. That corner so close, just under the rear wing of Matt's car. Our leader still on the track, Andrew Whitehead, just coming down to the main hairpin down to the bus stop. Will look to start the final lap of the race. One more chance for Colin Kinney to get the best of Matt Daly, but Matt Daly doing an incredible job of defending and keeping him behind.
Yeah, he looked calm and collected, really, considering the pressure that he's under.
Colin Kinney looking, he's managed to get his nose in under the bus stop. Can he outbrake him at turn 1? He can't, he dips behind. But he
just misses out.
He was hunting for that position. As they go through the banking, still very close to the back of that yellow car in front. A very, very close gap between them. But as we all know, coming through Church now, a wide right-hander up the hill, uphill braking zone into Rocket. Is Colin close enough to make a difference? He's very close. He's looking. He decides against it on this lap. Matt covers that very, very well to defend that position. He knew Colin was going to look for that opportunity. He's seen it 3 or 4 times for 4 in the previous laps. Has Colin got anything left at the remaining of the track? Andrew Whitehead just coming up to traffic now as he comes down Tom Price Straight. Very, very close to ending, taking the top spot. And Colin under the slipstream, looking to the outside of the hairpin, brakes a lot later but runs wide, and Matt Daly keeping his line very tight, maintains that position. We have a car running very wide at the back. Not sure who that was. I think it was Paul Plant, but Andrew Whitehead comes across the start-finish line to take the win in race 1 this evening. Anglesey, Matt Daly and Colin Kinney remain in second place for Matt Daly and Colin Kinney in third after a fantastic battle between them. Andrew Cracker initially leading the race, coming home in 4th position. Paul Plant running a bit wide down the start-finish straight, takes 5th. Barry Clayton taking 7th place. Greg Young in Barry Clayton, sorry, taking 6th place. Greg Young in 7th place. Anna Matthews in the AutoItalia car, coming home in 8th. Rob Whitney with Paul Millman behind him. Paul Millman not close enough. I correct that, he is close enough to make a challenge, but doesn't quite get the job done. 1 more corner to go between Rob Whitney and Paul Millman. Very close to slight contact between the two. Paul Millman just touching the back of Rob Whitney's car. Is that enough? That's not enough to get the position. No, Rob Whitney comes home in 9th, Paul Millman in 10th. Guy Swarbrick with Luke Wiggins behind him. Again, 1 more corner to go. So everyone racing until the very, very last for race 1. But Guy Swarbrick comes home in 11th and Luke Wiggins in 12th. Anthony Gray, 1 lap down, will be in 13th, and Stephen Light in 14th position. But race 1 win goes to Andrew Whitehead.
Cracking battle there between Daly and Knief at the end there. They both did very well to keep it calm and collected, but just so close.
Fantastic racing between them. Matt Daly, I think, if I remember correctly, is the actually does a race in real life. I think Colin Kinney and Andrew Whitehead are mainly sim races, but Matt Daly does. I can't remember what he is, but he does actually race in real life as well. So he's got that experience of being in a car, which whether that helped or not, keeping him on the straight and narrow against Colin Kinney in at Anglesey, but he did a very, very good job in that battle. To come home in 2nd place. So, what were your thoughts after that one, Reeve?
Well, I was surprised to see just how many offs we had. Don't know what quite was going on the tarmac there, but nonetheless, I think there wasn't really any major, damage that came out of it, which is good to see. Yeah, and brilliant little battle for the bottom 2 spots of the podium.
No, it's very, very good. But yeah, it just shows you some spectacular incidents just running on the grass. You think you can regain control just running down the outside a little bit on the grass, but no, that's sent people spinning off into nowhere a little bit. Yeah, so hopefully people would have. Anglesey
clearly taking no prisoners.
You're on the grass, complete race road. But yeah. No, some fantastic racing between the two. Now, if I remember correctly, I think it's a full reverse grid for race 2, and then I think race 3 is a partial reverse grid. I'll check my notes on that to work out what it is. But yeah, we'll just get this server reset, and then yeah, we'll pop back in a moment. There we are. So, welcome back to race 2. With just under a minute left of the 20-minute race for race 2. We have Colin Kinney and Matt Daly on the front row, Andrew Whitehead and Andrew Cracker in row 2, Paul Plant and Mr. Barry Clayton on row 3, Greg Young and Alan Matthews on row 4, Rob Whitney and Paul Millman line up together in the back, Luke Wiggins, Anthony Gray, Stephen Knight all at the tail end. There are a few computer issues with some of the competitors, so they will be joining later on in the race, but they're not there for the start, unfortunately, as we have 6 lights appear on the gantry, 20 minutes plus a lap from the leader. As the red lights appear, they all go out and away we go. Very good start from I think Andrew at slightly further down, 3 wide going into turn 1, and he gets through and gains a position. Very good start from Matt Daly as well, challenging for the lead already with Colin Kinney. There was a slight bump between, I think there's more contact in the middle. Matt Daly hitting a couple of people. Andrew Whitehead again caught out by that and runs wide.
Young capitalising on that.
Yes, they're side by side again going through the next section of corners. Where were we? Heading through Church up to Rockets as well. Colin and who's that? Matt Daly and Colin Kinney side by side going into Rocket again to repeat of race 1. Matt Daly running wide. Colin Kinney pips him to the post on that one. There's loads of people changing for position. Barry running on the inside of the curbing, challenging for 4th place for big one, 5th place for Andrew Cracker. There's so many people, so many movements going on in the mid-pack. Andrew Cracker now up into 5th. And Colin Kinney able to eke out a bit of a gap between him and Matt Daly now for 2nd place. So again, was under.
That's exactly how we wanted the end of the race.
Indeed, he did. Paul Millman challenging for 3rd place with Matt Daly. Andrew Cracker running very, very slow, I think. May have taken a penalty for that and has decided to move down the order. Not too sure what's happening there. But yeah, Paul Millman challenging for 3rd for Greg Young. Wasn't able to get the job done coming through the I think the hairpin running down to the bus stop. A very good performance from him. Andrew Cracker returning to the pits actually, so either to serve a penalty or to repair damage to his car. But Andrew Whitehead now up into 10th after a very, very bad instant cord stim to be pushed outside of the grass, as we have Anthony Gray actually on the grass pointing the wrong way. So hopefully he can join very safely. There we are, and does get going again. But a race leader for the moment, Colin Kinney in 1st place with Matt Daly 1.8 seconds behind him. So a repeat of race 1, both still. Colin, I think, having a slightly heavier car than Matt will. So yeah, trying to, I'm sure manage some tyres between the two. And we'll see who can challenge who for the lead. As they all start to settle down a bit, Greg Young still running in 3rd place. Paul Millman actually under pressure from Barry Clayton behind him now. So we'll see whether Barry, not the quickest driver, is in a very, very good position to score some points at this race, but he just needs to keep his head down and keep his race as tidy as possible. But it looks like Barry Clayton may have the slight better ability over him. As he does look up the inside of the banking, but just falls in line behind him. Alan Matthews getting up the inside of Rob Whitney, but Rob Whitney coming back at him on the outside as they run the very long right-hander. Decides just to fall, I think running too wide, causing him to lose time. Under pressure now as well from Luke Wiggins for that 7th position. Can Luke getting with the braking. They don't. They all slow down for the Rocket. Andrew Whitehead coming in hot behind them to close it up very, very quickly to the pack in front. There's actually contact between Luke Wiggins and Rob Whitney. So get it tangling up between themselves. Luke Wiggins actually remaining in his position for
Very
Rob
gracious
Whitney to regain the track. So well done to him for that. But unfortunately, the contact has sort of ruined the race result a little bit for them. Andrew Whitehead very pleased with that, able to get through very quickly and cleanly to bring himself back up into 7th position. Luke Wiggins again running on the grass, I think having a couple of issues seems to work out with. Paul Plant running in 10th, just getting past Stephen Knight. Andrew Cracker back on track after his pit stop, running in 13th. But yes, after a very, very exciting 5 minutes of race 1, 15 minutes of race 2 remaining. Colin Kinney is leading, currently running very wide and onto the grass now. Can he regain? He's still running very quickly, hits the grass, takes to the air. Is he going to hit? He's very, very misses all the barriers, but he's lost first place, but somehow
keeps the car in sellable condition.
Who did not hit anything. We don't know what damage does. As we see another car, Barry Clayton running over the barriers behind him. Unfortunately,
Repeated race
not
1 there.
so lucky to stop the car in time. So that may have damaged his car behind him as well.
Knief may not feel like it right now, but he's probably the luckiest man on track. That suspension has had one hell of a test.
That was.
And he's lucky his rear wing's still attached.
The car looks in good condition. We don't know what hitting those cones would have done. He launched in the air for a moment, but he does. He's certainly put his head down again and seems to be back on his normal pace. But that's opened up a gap of about 5 seconds between him and Matt Daly.
So if you're wondering as to whether a Giulietta would be a good, reliable, solid family car, I think there is your
One
answer.
has been launched in the air and still survives, so there we are. Greg Young, I think, probably was hopefully seeing his opportunity to get higher up on the podium, but Colin Kinney, I think, just opening the gap now between the two and putting that instant behind him very, very quickly. Alan Matthews getting past Paul Millman for 4th, but Mr. Millman coming back very quickly. Andrew Whitehead behind them as well, up into 6th. Alan Matthews just blocking off the path of Andrew Whitehead. For Andrew Whitehead getting his elbows out, moves into 5th position very quickly. Very,
Nicely
very
done that
good.
quick part of the track.
Whipped the car around him very, very quickly to get past him. He was clearly better under braking into the Rocket complex, and is now behind Paul Millman, hoping to get the job done very quickly before Alan Matthews can try and get the better of Andrew Whitehead. As we see Paul Millman running wide, that will give Andrew the run up the inside down the straight towards the hairpin. Alan Matthews hoping to follow Andrew's lead. He does indeed as Paul Millman brakes, but loses out of position, trying to defend against Alan Matthews. I'm not sure he saw him there.
Just keeps the
nose.
Ooh.
Did run Alan Matthews very, very wide onto the grass. So not.
You know what they say, Robin's racing.
Not too sure whether we saw him in that position, but unfortunately that puts Alan Matthews back into 6th, and they'll have to reset and try and close the gap and attack that position again. But Andrew Whitehead on an absolute flyer now up into 4th place. To the gap being about 6-7 seconds between Andrew Whitehead and Greg Young, so we'll see how much of a dent Andrew can make in the second half of the race. Colin Kinney bringing the gap down actually between him and Matt Daly to 4.6 seconds. So Colin Kinney still seeing Matt Daly in the sights after that very hairy moment from Colin. Paul Millman under pressure from Alan Matthews. Barry Clayton actually bringing himself up into 7th as well after that his run over the barriers. Battle behind them as well between Paul Plant and Luke Wiggins. but Paul Plant just fought it back a little bit, resetting himself, I think, to try and gain a position. So yeah, back at the sharp end, the gap getting even shorter actually, 4.2 seconds now as they go through the bus stop down the main straight to turn 1.
Odd strategy to adjust you from wing setup from Kenneth there, but it seems to be working.
Exactly, it's lowered the suspension, made it a lot easier to. It's proved it can fly, so now he's using it to fly around the track and get closer to Matt Daly.
Well, I think after that, it's probably become rear-wheel drive.
Put the engine in the back. Going in third, but the gap actually nearly down to 4 seconds between the two front runners. So whether Matt's actually running a bit too, whether Matt thought Colin would be further behind him, but Matt's actually taking it possibly a little bit too docile. Alan Matthews getting past Paul Millman for 5th place. And Paul, I think, a little bit too far behind to challenge for that position back. Paul Plant down in 10th place, putting the pressure on Luke Wiggins for 9th. Brings the car to the speed of the car down for the Rocket Complex. Just follows suit with Anthony Gray behind him actually in 11th. So a little gaggle of cars possibly competing for 8th position. Guy Swarbrick joining us for the race actually after I think computer issues plagued him midway between the two, so he's a few laps down, does join him for, I'm sure, valuable experience for race 3. Stephen Knight down in 13th position, Andrew Cracker showing after his pit stop and I'm sure repairs, running in 12th. So what's happening with this little gaggle? Paul Plant on the inside of the last corner as Luke Wiggins actually spins as well going into the entrance of the pits.
Ooh.
I'm sure didn't want to do that, but unfortunately is now actually trying to exit the pits. So didn't want to do that at all. Lost the back of the car completely.
I think, did we see that from Luke in race 1 as well?
Possibly, might have been a different corner. Paul Plant actually getting up into 8th.
It might, I wonder.
Whatever, open setups as well, so whether the setup he's chosen has caused the back end to be a little bit more skittish.
I'd say quite aggressive, yeah.
Battle behind him between and Gray looking at the inside, gets the job done, but runs very wide.
Nicely!
He had more speed but wasn't prepared for the next set of corners. Did very well not to actually hit the back of Rob Whitney. Rob Whitney.
So yeah, I thought he timed it just perfectly for that second.
It did look like a very good manoeuvre, but just carrying way too much speed. Wasn't able to get back on track in front of Whitney for the run into Peel and all the rest of it. So he, as again, he'll have to reset. But on his debut, a couple of showing us has a few issues to work out with his driving style. I think running wide onto the grass caused him to go down to the back of the pack, but showing himself to be a competitive driver when he can get close to someone to initiate the battle. It does actually seem to be closing the gap again to Rob Whitney, so may take another crack at 9th place. The gap between first and second down to 3.4 seconds. So with 6.5 minutes remaining. Hopefully Matt can just keep Colin at bay enough. But what do we have? Luke Wiggins actually off the track, just returning again. That continuing. So Anthony Gray not able to get the job done in the same place as before. There does seem to be quite a good overtaking opportunity in the uphill braking zone for the Rocket Complex. As I've seen both Colin and Anthony try and favour that manoeuvre And Andrew as well actually failing that manoeuvre. Fastest lap actually set by Andrew Whitehead. 1:29.531 for the race. He is on the tail of Greg Young very quickly.
I'm going to say that'll be very worrying news for a third place there.
So Andrew Whitehead, I think, looking for a podium position after being run wide in lap 1. Easy close enough to get the move done. Coming up to the uphill braking zone, trying to keep the speed of the car up as much as he can. Very late on the brakes, brings the car to the perfect place on the track to run through the next set of corners. Brings the gap down even more to Greg Young in front of him. Greg Young trying to defend as much as he can. Isn't showing as much pace as he normally does in this race. Greg Young already picking the inside line, trying to defend. Andrew Whitehead under the brakes, clipping the inside of the corner, but keeps it, has enough momentum to keep it straight, keep it going in the right direction. Lost a little bit of space over Greg Young. Trying to reset, but brings the gap down even more. So I think definitely less than a second between them now. Can Andrew pick a different spot to get the overtake done? I'll have to have a battle between Millman and Clayton. I think for a moment Clayton got the inside line to the corner, but Paul Millman got a better run. As Cracker and Gray actually get the move done, but Cracker, beg your pardon, Anthony Gray running wide onto the grass, so unfortunately loses a lot of space to Anthony Cracker and Rob Whitney as well, who he was trying to battle with. Millman and Clayton again battling side by side through the banking corner. But Clayton just falling in behind for the next set of corners. Whitehead still on Greg Young's tail. So after a bit of a lull in the middle of the race, they're all getting a little bit fired up now in the final 3.5 minutes. Can Clayton get the job done under braking? No, Clayton defends going into the uphill braking zone. All Plant's behind him as well, hoping to get in on the action. So it could be a 3-car battle for 6th place. Whitehead even closer to Greg Young. Gap, I think it has sort of levelled out at about 3.5 seconds between Matt Daly, but Matt Daly having to deal with the traffic of Stephen Knight. Yes, Stephen Knight diving out the way of the leader behind him as the blue flags get waved. Paul Plant trying to battle Paul Millman. Millman getting a very bad run coming out of the hairpins. Paul now regaining 7th place. Paul Millman trying to come back at him up the inside. Paul Plant braking just to try and get in the undercut as well. So there's swapping places many times. That was, I think, slight contact between the two. Paul Millman running very wide. And Paul Plant makes it stick and stays in 7th place on this occasion. But they were swapping places many times.
They were. I feared that was going to end worse than it did, to be honest.
They did. They both seem very heavy under brakes as well. The car coming to practical standstill. Andrew Whitehead still behind Greg Young as they just come through. It looks like Greg was trying to defend, but very heavy on the brakes, and Andrew carried more speed through the corner. Nearly side by side, but Andrew's going to be on the outside of the corner. Brakes a lot later. Greg Young just falls in behind him. Will have the inside line, but Andrew Whitehead getting a very good drive away from that corner. Able to make that one stick as well, and gains 3rd position over Greg Young. Just keeps the back of the car just running a little bit wide through the bus stop. But Andrew Whitehead not losing much speed. Heart in your mouth moment watching the car then slide around. So whatever setup Andrew Whitehead's picked, that's obviously very loose setup, but it's proving its worth, getting from the back of the pack back up to 3rd place.
Young doing very well to keep it on the podium spot after that first turn in the first lap.
Normally he's a bit, from memory, he seems to be a bit quicker. They're both actually having to deal with traffic now as well, of Stephen Knight. So hopefully that won't hold up Andrew Whitehead. I think the gap's probably big enough. Stephen Knight will have the blue flags in front of him. He does seem to be dawdling a little bit. Not getting out of the way, but just holding his line. Andrew Whitehead makes a clean overtake, getting around him. So does Greg Young. So Matt Daly and Colin Kinney both on the same bit of straight, but we have 20 seconds of the race remaining, so that will mean that we'll have two laps remaining, as the countdown will reach 0, and then they'll have one more lap from Matt Daly. So but yeah, so two more laps, sorry, from Matt Daly and Colin Kinney. The gap now 2.2 seconds between the twos.
I think unfortunately we're going to miss the last lap battle from the pair, but still very nice from Knief to still be on track.
Yes, after his very hairy moment in the grass. Did very well incredibly well to get his head down again and close that gap. Where is everyone roughly? Paul Parkman very wide on the exit of turn 1. Very wide in the next corner as well. Just about keeps it.
I think that's a dead front left.
Slightly struggling in the last lap to keep it in a straight line. But yeah, poor Barry Clayton putting Alan Matthews under pressure for 5th. Looks up the inside, but not able to get it done quite yet. We're going back and forth. Andrew Whitehead running in 3rd, but will not be able to close up on the 2 leading pair as Matt Daly just comes across the start-finish line to begin the last lap of race 2 at Anglesey Circuit. The gap now under 2 seconds between the two. All Matt has to do is just keep his line quick and clean, and he will take race 2 victory. But Colin Kinney has stepped up his efforts now as the gap, just as they come out of Church Corner down up to Rockets, is 1.7 seconds. Colin better under the braking in this corner that we know, but he may be too far behind Stephen Knight, unfortunately, on the grass. Paul Plant, I think, ahead of our leaders. Well, there is a car on the track in front of the leaders, so whether that will play into the overall battle, doesn't look like it is. Andrew Whitehead is off, and Greg Young's managed to get through. So Andrew Whitehead off at Rocket, and Greg Young close enough to capitalise on that. So Andrew Whitehead not able to recover in time. So Andrew Whitehead back into 4th position as
that nice stable form doing Young wonders.
Exactly.
On the final lap,
very consistent. He was able to capitalise on Andrew's mistake. But as we have Matt Daly complete race 1 and take the win, Colin Kinney, a very, very, very good effort to get as close as he did, but not able to challenge for the lead in the end, to take 2nd place. Greg Young, well done to him, very consistent pace, and capitalises on Andrew Whitehead's error on the last lap and takes 3rd position if he can keep it tied in the last corner. He does. Andrew Whitehead taking 4th, who I'm sure will be kicking himself. Yes, he could have a slightly better position there. Battle for 5th between Alan Matthews and Barry Clayton coming to the last corner. They both slow down. Barry missing the back of Matthews' car. But Alan Matthews takes 5th and Barry Clayton takes 6th place. Paul Plant just behind traffic there will take 7th. Andrew Cracker behind him taking 8th. Will Millman taking 9th, defending from Rob Whitney till the last corner. Will have to settle for 10th. Anthony Gray comes home in 11th after a few little errors from him. Luke Wiggins just coming through the hairpin down the straight to the bus stop. Will settle for 12th position. Stephen Knight being the lap to traffic car will be in 13th. And Guy Swarbrick, after joining late for the race, will be in 14th place. So, very well done to Matt Daly for race 2 win. And Colin Kinney taking second place, luckiest man on earth. Not hitting the barriers once in that very hairy moment. Just
yeah,
we didn't even see the beginning of the incident, did we? What happened coming out of church, was it? But,
no. It'd be brilliant to get a replay on that, just to see under what circumstances can you make a Giulietta fly.
What was his what was his throttle position for that? It looked like he kept his boot in the entire time to try and get that.
I suppose that's all you could do.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd do in that situation. In a front-wheel drive car like that, you go in that much rallycross, just think, right, just boot it and hope.
Just full lock one way, full power, and hope the front wheels can scrabble on the grass for whatever elements of grip remain and get back on the track, which he did. To be fair. Very well done to him.
Yes, I think that race we had a very lucky podium overall. I think Knief saving it in that instant, and then of course we had Greg Young clawing it back.
Yes, after Andrew Whitehead's unfortunate being pushed out wide in the first couple of corners, wasn't he, with that incident? So we'll see if the stewards have anything to say about whatever instance happened on lap 1. The other thing the stewards will be looking at as well is track limits as well. There are a few track limit issues with Castle Combe, so we'll see if there's any changes to the order after that as well. But yes, race 3 coming up, which if I have my notes correct is a 10-minute race with an element of a grid reverse grid. And yes, we'll be back for that in a second. So, welcome back to the final race of the evening at Anglesey Circuit for our full reverse grid 10-minute sprint race to round out the triple header this evening. So it being a full reverse grid, we have Stephen Knight and Guy Swarbrick, Guy Swarbrick and Stephen Knight on row 1. We have Anthony Gray and Luke Wiggins on row 2. And Matthew's unfortunately having a disconnect there midway through the pack. On row 3 we have, won't quite go in order for me, so just trying to pick out the name. Paul Millman, Rob Whitney and Paul Millman on row 3. Andrew Cracker, Paul Plant on row 4. Barry Clayton in the middle there on his own row. And then we've got Andrew Whitehead, Greg Young, Colin Kinney and Matt Daly at the back of the pack, being a full reverse grid. But I'm sure they won't stay there for long. They never do. They never tend to on the reverse grids. But yes, the final race of this evening lined up. Just checking their lights. Indeed.
Like checking.
Everyone making sure they're working.
Need it in this dark and gloomy Anglesey.
6 red lights appear on the gantry. 10 minutes plus a lap from the leader. So the lights go out and away they go. Very good start from Guy Swarbrick.
Yeah.
But we have trying to sneak up the middle 3 wide. There's
got a bit of 4 wide there.
Everyone bumping doors a little bit in the middle of the pack, and there's already an incident between Paul Plant and I think Andrew Cracker. And we have 4 cars off already, and Clayton again. There's another car off in the middle of the pack. There's another bump between Paul Millman. I think Colin Kinney there in Halford's livery was bumped off as well, just returning to the grid. So that's going to give the stewards a lot of work to look through that incident.
Yes, there you go. Very busy
between Alan Matthews and Guy Swarbrick. Guy Swarbrick just returning to the track. Rob Whitney all the way up into the lead of the race already, with Andrew Whitehead behind him. So an ideal opportunity for them. We have
Daly's had a good first lap.
We have Alan Matthews, Greg Rose getting bumped off coming out of the Peel corner. So many changes happening. Barry Clayton and Matt Daly battling for 5th position. Side by side going through the left-hander of Siemens, up down the Tom Price straight, still side by side. I think Matt Daly might eke that one out. But Clayton braking a lot later, but to his detriment as Matt Daly is able to get the car pointing in the right direction quicker. Andrew Cracker running a bit wide coming out of that hairpin as well. But after a very hectic lap 1 race, Rob Whitney is in a commanding position at the lead of the race. But we already have Andrew Whitehead challenging a position at the inside of the banking.
Nicely done.
Gets him under the braking, and a very clean manoeuvre. Paul Plant getting up the inside of Barry Clayton. Andrew Cracker's running along the grass, unfortunately, so I'm not sure what happened there, as he does rejoin. That's actually on the hairpin as well. Andrew Whitehead under pressure from Rob Whitney, not able to open up enough of a gap yet. Clayton getting the best of Paul Plant as well, coming up the uphill braking zone, defending on the inside line very well, keeping Paul Plant at bay. Going through the next complex of corners, Paul Plant's going to be trying to get the best of him. Greg Young up into 8th past Stephen Knight and Anthony Gray, as Stephen Knight runs very wide, and he's taking the front of Anthony Gray's car off, unfortunately, as well. Colin Kinney up into 9th, I think, getting past those lot very quickly. Gap opening up now between the 2 leaders, 1.5 seconds. Andrew Whitehead gets his head down and further up the race. You can see the rest of the pack still running behind them. Guy Swarbrick in a 3rd place there. Fantastic seeing this high up the order. Alan Matthews beginning to try and put pressure on him behind. Fastest lap set by Andrew Whitehead now of a 1:31.1. So far, no one getting quite that pace. Matt Daly, so we have a battle for third between Matt Daly, Alan Matthews and Guy Swarbrick already. Guy Swarbrick doing his best to defend his position as they come round the right-hander of Church down the long straight to the uphill braking zone. Rocket. Slight blip from the Whitney actually returning to the pits. I didn't actually see when he was when he decided to do that. But Matt Daly challenging for third place, through the complex side by side with Alan Matthews. He has the inside line for the Siemens corner. Gets a good run.
There you go. Will it stick?
Side by side, still door rubbing as they big fun. That's coming out of Peel corner. This one, Siemens corner, down the main straight. And he does get the job done coming out of the accelerating away from the corner. Can he get the best of Guy Swarbrick under braking? Clayton, beg your pardon, battle for Scart's car of Paul Plant. Matt Daly going around the outside of the straightaway of Guy Swarbrick. Down at the braking, Guy trying to get the best of him under braking, but collides with the left-hand door of Matt Daly. So unfortunately, that Guy does indeed. Where was he? Guy indeed regaining track, joining the track again, but has Colin Kinney behind him as well.
So he's not escaped. Difficult company there, I think.
So Clayton, Plant and Matthews all managed to get past. So that instant, there's a car off in the background. Greg Young has been hit again, as well as a very poor rejoin from Millman collides with who else did he hit? Unfortunately, I think that was Stephen Knight he hit.
Young got a lock from the last race there.
Very unfortunate instance. I have to say, slightly could have been avoided if Paul Milner was just sort of taking a bit more time rejoining the track after that incident, but hit Stephen Knight. I'm not too sure what the colour of the car was. But
all in the meanwhile, Whitehead's just having a nice, comfortable cruise out in front.
11 seconds now over Alan Matthews for second. So yeah, Rob Whitney running second, wasn't it? And then for whatever reason, he had to take to the pits to either serve a penalty. I don't think he'd served much damage from lap one instance, so I suspect that would have been a penalty he had to serve. But I could be wrong. But yeah, 11 seconds between first and second. So Andrew Whitehead with 3 minutes of the sprint race remaining can just take it a bit easy, conserve tyre wear, and just bring it home for a race win. But,
although I wonder if with Daly and Knief being close together again, will they both be making a bid for the podium? Yet again.
Possibly. They've both got very, very quick pace, haven't they? But let's see, they should also need to work together. They are very close to the Gago cars for second place. 2.5 minutes to go. Barry Clayton on the brakes, just gets it stopped in time. Paul Plant getting past Alan Matthews actually on. We missed that. Alan Matthews dropping down the order, losing out 2 track positions on the Rocket Complex. Matt Daly now closing in on Alan Matthews as well for that podium position. So all very, very tight together. Colin Kinney, as you quite rightly pointed out, Reeve, getting on the back of that battle ahead. Luke Wiggins unfortunately coming off the track at the Rocket corner as well. Matt Daly on the outside of the hairpin gets the undercut done on Alan Matthews.
Oh,
he's
nicely
not quite got
done.
the job done completely. They are side by side.
Set himself up. Oh no, he's losing out on the straight there, isn't he? Running a bit more aero, perhaps.
Alan Matthews' car squirming around a little bit on the left hand of the bus stop, but just ekes away from the advance of Matt Daly to hold on to 4th place. which all the while will be delaying Matt and Colin's pace to try and get onto the podium. Paul Plant running away up the road a little bit, with Barry Clayton hot on his heels as they both come out of Church up to Rocket, up to the favourite uphill braking zone. We have Colin Kinney challenging for Matt Daly. They all get the car slowed down in time. They're all very tight running through the next couple of slower corners. But no change to the order as of yet. Andrew Cracker getting past Guy Swarbrick at that braking zone. Who was that running particularly wide at the Rocket turn? I'm not sure who that was. Clayton striking Alan Matthews.
Ooh, that
wasn't
scary
sure
for a second there.
All the cars got to run. Colin Kinney from Matt Daly's tail. Nearly three wide going into the hairpin. Side by side of each other. Who's going to win out? Who can get a better run out of the corner? No one's able to quite capitalise on each other's misfortune quite yet. But Matt Daly running very wide, misses his braking point, touches the grass, and ends up spinning out on the outside of the bus stop. So had Matt Daly, unfortunately, instead from him, had a lot more pace coming into that corner, but unfortunately took himself out. Unfortunately, Colin
Knief says thank you very much for that, really, doesn't he?
Yes, trying on the outside against Barry Clayton, rubbing doors as well. As they go through Church now, Barry carrying...
Clayton fights back.
He is carrying a lot more speed through that corner. But we all know what Colin can do at the next one. Can Barry defend his position coming into the braking zone? He does indeed. Takes to the inside apex and keeps Colin at bay.
Clayton doing a lovely defensive drive,
very,
really.
Very well done, yes. Keeps him at bay enough. The clock has reached 0, but...
16 seconds out in front.
Is Andrew Whitehead in first place. The clock reached 0, but we still have one more lap from him to go. So he's currently on the penultimate lap, just coming down the main straight to the bus stop to start the last lap. I'm sure everyone will be very, very eager to get as high up the order as they can.
These Giulietta Road cars obviously have the DNA switch. I have a feeling Whitehead's currently just got his in the normal position at the moment. No need for...
Just a nice relaxed last lap drive. Again, Colin Kinney trying to get past Barry Clayton. Clayton defending his position well, just as they begin their last lap as well. So not many more chances for Colin to get the best of him yet, but it looks like Alan Matthews running a little bit slower than the two of them as well, so that could cause issues. Paul Plant in clear air in front of them, hoping the cars behind him score with position enough to let him get away. But third place on the grid, on the podium, still not yet decided, still could be any one of 3 cars. As they come through the fast right-hander up to the Rocket braking zone as well, they all brake. Alan Matthews trying to do the same defensive manoeuvre on Clayton.
Can he finding any bit of tarmac he can use really to try and get the nose in?
They all stay in their exact train. Another braking zone as well. Everyone punching up nose to tail. But no change in position. Another heavy braking zone going into left-hander. The smoke coming off Knief's tyres. He bumps the door of Clayton. And Clayton hits the wall, so that whatever Colin's contact with Clayton unsettled the car so much that caused him to go into the barriers. Andrew Whitehead finishing the race there, taking race 3 win. Paul Plant just getting past the last corner as well to settle here for second. A very, very good pace from him to get up in that position as well. Alan Matthews happy, I'm sure very happy with third position. He's got Colin Kinney taking 4th. Andrew Cracker capitalising on Clayton's misfortune, taking 5th, and Barry Clayton coming home in 6th position. Matt Daly, after his incident, running wide, brings it home in 7th. Guy Swarbrick, a very, very good result from him in 8th. Anthony Gray just coming through the last corner for ninth position. Luke Wiggins settles for 10th. Stephen Knight in 11th. Greg Young in 12th. Rob Whitney just coming through the hairpin now down the main straight with Paul Millman behind him. They will settle. They will come home in 13th and 14th, respectively. So yes, I'm not sure what happened to Rob Whitney. He was up in second for a lot of the time, but had to dive into the pits for whatever reason, and that pretty much sealed the end of his race.
Pretty hectic one overall.
It was indeed, wasn't it?
Yeah, race one saw the gardeners get used quite a lot, and I think race 3 is going to see the body shop.
There's certainly, there's going to be. There's going to be, I'm sure, a few instances as well for the stewards to look at.
Definitely. Shame to see the race end like that for Clayton. He was doing a wonderful defensive drive.
There have been some very, very good battles this evening through the entire grid as well. But yeah, some quite messy sort of first lap incidents through, especially the second and third races. So yeah, I think well, interesting to see whether that has any effect on the overall positions. But yes, Andrew Whitehead taking race 3 win, so very well done to him. Just have a little quick check. No, that's fine. Cool. So what was your do you have a favourite moment from that Reeve, or was hectic the entire night?
Yeah. I'd say the favourite's probably watching Knief and Daly battle it out. That was a lovely battle from those two.
Yes, they've done it quite a few times throughout last season as well, so I'm sure there's many more chances for them to battle each other going through the rest of the season as well.
Brilliant.
Yes, fantastic. Cool. Well, my throat hurts, so I need to end the stream there. the next round is on the 11th of February, and that will be using the Brands Hatch GP circuit for a double header race event. So that'll be a good one as well. Brands Hatch is one of my favourite circuits.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of turn one action.
And again, a lot of undulation, a lot of chances to overtake, and I'm sure, a lot of great racing action as well. So, we'll see you all for that, and I hope you have a good week in the meantime.